Thank you all for coming to the Vetting Out the Sources, How We Can Better Help Our Veterans webinar. This is National Apprenticeship Week, and Jenny Sales and I were given the task to come up with an event that could serve our veterans, our service people of our country. And when we were brainstorming, it's like, what are the resources out there that maybe our veterans don't know about? And so this is a panel in which we have some partnerships with some people who work alongside veterans or our veterans themselves. So you get to hear a little bit of their testimonies on that front. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'll introduce myself in Ms. Sales. I'm Elise Long. I'm a talent recruiter and career coach here at Apprenticeship, work alongside our work-based learning internship program in which I help our candidates find 3 months of work within their respective fields. And then Ms. Jenny Sales is our senior talent recruiter. She helps with a little bit of everything. She gets her hands in all sorts of things within Apprenticeship, but she works alongside our advanced manufacturing, advanced energy, and as we are here diving into new sectors here at Apprenticeship, she assists in that as well. So just a quick brief overview about Apprenticeship for those who are not too familiar. We are a nonprofit dedicated to building and retaining top talent in the state of Arkansas. Some of you may have known us as Arkansas Center for Data Science, where our foundation is tech, and it still is. But recently we've gone into new sectors such as healthcare, energy. So we partner with companies started in the state of Arkansas. Now we're branching out to others as well to find those internships and apprenticeships for those who have that skill and they're looking for ways to upskill themselves in their career. So that's a little bit about us. Go ahead and introduce some of our panel members. We have Miss Jody Bergenstorm. She is a wife of a veteran, founder and CEO of Camp Alliance. It was founded in 2010 with a singular mission, serving and uplifting service members, veterans, and their families. Jody's passion and drive for serving the men and women and their families wearing the uniform and veterans are reflected in numerous state and national awards of selfless service. She's been appointed to serve on multiple boards and councils, including Arkansas State Council for Military Children by the Adjutant General of the Arkansas National Guard, the Northwest Arkansas Veterans Coalition Board, the Governor's Challenge Leadership Team for Mental Health, Awareness and Suicide Prevention, and the Central Arkansas Veterans Health Service Mental Health and Substance Use Disorder Council. So we thank you, Jody, and we're looking forward to hearing more about you. Next, we have Walter Zolowiski. I hope I pronounced your last name right, Walter. You are a graduate of the Arkansas Division of Workforce Services Leadership Development Class 3 and a graduate of the Arkansas Governmental Manager Program. Walter started in 2003 as a veteran work study student in the Malvern local office and became a full-time local veterans employment representative in the Hot Spring local office in 2006. He became the first intensive service coordinator at Fort Roots, Little Rock in 2010. In 2020, he became a program operations manager of the Pandemic Employment Assistance Program, and in 2021, moved over as program operations manager with the fraud unit in internal audit. In 2022, he decided to go back to working with veterans and transferred to the Hot Springs local office as a disabled veterans outreach person. Walter is an active member of the Veterans of Foreign War, the National Infantry Association, the American Legion, and numerous nonprofits in his region, such as Polk County Community Veteran Engagement Team that assists veterans in the counties he covers and provides service to. He presently is covering Garland, Clark, Hot Springs, Dallas, Wichita, Union, Columbia, Nevada, Pike, Montgomery, Polk, Howard, Seafer, Hempstead, Little River, Miller, and Lafayette counties. He is familiar with 100 Families and Hope Hub sites. He visits detention centers regularly, seeking out veterans that will need assistance prior to being released. He has been instrumental in networking with partnerships that work with veterans, spouses, and service members who are presently serving, which contributed to the invention of the Veterans Resource Ally, held each year. He has represented AWS many times at the National Association of State Workforce Agencies Veterans Conference. He volunteers with the Giving Team during Food for Thought events. Looking forward to hearing more about you, Walter.
Awesome. And then we also have Carlton lawyer here, who serves as the program advisor with Arkansas Division of Higher Education State Approving Agency. Through the program review and supervision, Carlton assists the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs in preventing fraud, waste, abuse in the administration of the GI Bill funds, ensuring Arkansans and veterans receive quality education and training. Prior to joining the department in 2016, Carlton served on active duty on the United States Army from 1986 to 2016. Carlton has a Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration with a concentration in Human Resource from Colorado Tech University in Colorado Springs. He's a native of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and Carlton resides here in Arkansas. And then we have Scott Anderson, who we've worked side by side with for so many different areas with Forge, and he is our chief veteran cyber advisor. He is a SME. He knows all, and he has been so helpful in helping myself specifically with knowing what to have on my computer or my phone and what not to have in the cyber world and how you can be attacked. Currently, Scott is doing that partnership with Forge, but prior to Forge, Scott is a retired commander of the 223rd Cyber Space Operations Squadron of the 189th Airlift Wing of Arkansas Air National Guard. In this role, Scott was responsible for standing up the organization on the orders from CCAF and lending all aspects of cyber operations and the missions, including change management, leadership, partnership, and development. Scott is results driven and highly focused in developing executive business strategies, including building relationships and coalitions and achieving mission success. Scott enlisted in the United States Air Force as a communications and navigations apprentice. And after serving active duty for 8 years, he joined the Arkansas Air National Guard, where he cross-trained into cyber systems. So has the great ability to be able to really speak to apprenticeships. He's lived it and he's been in that. 2008, he was commissioned to intelligence officer. After qualifying as a missions operations commander, he became an instructor, MOC, subject matter expert, chief of standards and evaluations, executing hundreds of intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance missions supporting operations of Iraq Freedom and Operations Enduring Freedom. He's also served as a Joint Incident Awareness and Assessment Team, Cyber Conversion Officer, Information Systems Officer, Physical Security Manager, Personal Security Manager, Communication Security Responsible Officer, Intelligent Oversight Manager. Scott was born and raised in Washington State. After graduating in Woodland High School, he graduated with honors from ITT Technical Institute, earning a Bachelor's of Industry and Technology from SIU. Has a Master's in Science and Operations Management from the University of Arkansas. He lives in Central Arkansas with his wife, Laura. They have 4 children, and Scott has been deployed in the past, supporting Colombia to support their counter-drug operations, as well as Haiti after the devastating earthquake of 2009. So as you can see, we've got really great panelists with lots of education, lots of knowledge when it comes to the Veterans Organization and apprenticeships, and the ability to help and teach us different ways and options to be successful in an apprenticeship opportunity. I'm going to turn it back over to Elise.
Okay, thank you, Jen. looking forward to hearing a little bit from all panelists. So, first question is for Ms. Jody. What are some best practices for organizations that work with veterans?
Love it. Well, I just want to say I'm in great company with this panel. Too fun, too fun. Elise and Jenny and Apprentice Lead team, thank you for putting this together. You guys are just an amazing resource in this state, and we've enjoyed our partnership and working hand in hand. So Elise, great question. I think this is, again, Camp Alliance was started in 2010 with the goal and still holds very true to its mission, is to connect our service members, veterans, and their families to enhance quality of life. And that means a lot, right? That's a really broad statement. But one of our platforms is just that. It's connecting our service members, veterans, and families to resources in the state. And so it's just a great 3-click in. And yes, it's a platform that connects to already existing resources. So yes, we have multiple platforms. And this is just one of our platforms for resource connection. You'll find though, Elise, sorry, I'm going to elaborate on that a little bit, that first tab, our career tab, is such an amazing tool to that we use all the time. And Apprenticely helps us with our first formation event. So there's those highlighted employers and highlighted training and apprenticeship platforms on that career tab. So anyway, if anybody from the SMVF, I say that service member, veteran, and their families needs at one place, this Camp Connect is a good place to start.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Jody. I'm gonna switch to Walter. Walter, a little bit about the same question. What are resources for vets that are homeless? So switching it up. Some resources you help the veterans that are homeless.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. And as far as resources, there's numerous resources. There's local resources. You just have to ask, So the homeless population, I take pretty seriously when it comes to veterans. I've been there, done that, couch surfed, whatever. I could tell you what places would get free coffee, what parking lots had free water, et cetera, et cetera. And even though the veterans and even presently serving members, guard, reservists, may also be homeless, um, there's no advertisement about some of these services, and going to the VA website can be overwhelming. There's so much information out there. It's overwhelming for me and others that are trying to research information. But specifically, there's 2 programs um, that they can reach out to: SSVF and the VASH program. Both of those, depending on their situation and their eligibility, they could definitely help in numerous ways. I mean, it really each situation is different, so it really depends where we're meeting them in time. I wish I could meet them before they fell in the river, but I still have to meet them where they're at, and there's numerous resources. It's really too many to list. So locally, some of your VFWs, American Legion, just your veteran service organizations, they might shelter in a hotel for a few days, but that's not really solving the situation. But the other programs like SSVF, VASH, and me, we're going to, do intensive services, case management, um, and just work with them. I mean, I'm going to take them by the hand and walk with them during their journey. And with 17 counties, that's a lot.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the services that you're able to offer through the state approving agency for veterans.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for having me. Our program is basically we're oversight from the VA. So the biggest thing we do is offer assistance to any veteran that has access to the GI Bill. And so, like you said, being homeless, I've run across veterans that have been homeless that they had the benefit, they wanted to go to school. The resources are, like he said, the resources are endless. And so when we're reaching out to these, when they reach out to our office about using their GI Bill, which we get countless phone calls, and they think we can help them do it. And there's resources, and I have to sit down with them and go over them and, you know, find one that fits the veteran or the dependent of the veteran that has the benefit. But our overall function is to approve and regulate the GI Bill overall, nothing else.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Hey, Scott, can you tell us a little bit about some of the resources that Forge has with their fellowship?
Yeah, Jenny, thanks. I just want to say thanks for putting this on. Love serving my country, my state, love serving. Obviously did 24 years in the military. Didn't know you were reading my whole bio. That was long, and I'm apologizing right now for that. But I did spend quite a bit of time in the military. Still feel like I'm serving, love serving veterans, working at Forge Institute. We're a nonprofit, and we do a lot of different things that are veteran focused, but really it's about serving others, even folks that aren't veterans. But specifically with the veterans, we have our Forge Fellowship, and that's what you pulled up here on our slide. That is tied to the DoD Skill Bridge program. So transitioning service members can come work with Forge or one of our partners for up to 6 months before they leave the military. And so we've partnered with the state. We've had about 120 go through our fellowship in the last 2 years. About half of those are in Arkansas, and the goal is to get them great employment. And again, I love that our fellows are helping our fellows because they're finding resources, both the ones that are here in Arkansas, but all over the country. And then they're actually they built some resources about like challenges with the GI Bill or challenges with moving or buying a house or just other like personal transition stuff, right? We're meeting them where they're at, and we're very flexible because everybody's different. Some people have kids, some people are retiring, some people just did 4 years, some people are going back to school. And there are tons of great resources out there. People just don't know where to find them or don't know how to ask the right questions. So we feel like we're helping do that. And a lot of the organizations that are on here are doing the exact same thing. And I think it's just having those conversations. We also run the Arkansas Cyber Defense Center, which supports veteran-owned businesses. I know the Boots to Business, Small Business Administration is doing some great stuff with that, which are also good resources for veterans if they're interested in starting their own business. And then on the workforce side, we obviously love training veterans. We have a lot of instructors that are veterans that teach our cyber courses. Some of them are still serving, some of them are retired. And we have about 60 different subject matter experts that come in on different subjects. And those folks know how to relate to veterans as well. And it's really about building that network. We're definitely connected, but we're not doing it by ourselves. We're doing it with partners. I call them channel partners. But it's how do we help all the veterans across the state? So I'm going to take just a quick second also and talk about the state of Arkansas is very veteran friendly. So the goal is they're adding benefits to different, I guess, organizations across the state. I know that the states prioritize that specifically on the workforce side. So the launch website is not fully live, but that's the workforce initiative that Mike Rogers put together when he was appointed as the workforce guru or czar. I don't know what his title is by the governor. And he's a great person. They've prioritized like how to translate AFSCs and MOSs on the site, and then what jobs relate to that here in Arkansas. You can get on there. I've used those over the years. Obviously, when I was in the military during some mentoring stuff with young troops that are part-time guardsmen looking for jobs, how do they translate that into the civilian sector? It needs some work, but it's a good start. And really it's kind of building, like I said earlier, building that network and leveraging professionals or other people that have transitioned out. I'm still learning how to speak private sector, and I've been out for 5 years. because I use a lot of acronyms. But again, thanks, Jenny, for putting this together, or Apprenticely.
You bet. You bet. We're actually going to come back to you in just a moment.
Perfect.
Because I have some more questions, believe it or not. I don't ever really shut up. But I'm going to pass it back over to Elise and Jody.
All right. Well, as we read in Jody's bio, she works a lot with mental and substance abuse and suicide prevention. So, to that, Jody, what are some mental and substance abuse resources that are available for our veterans?
Love it. Thank you again for a good question. Good question. So one of our newest platforms, and we're building it out, it's becoming very robust, but it's in collaboration with the Arkansas Drug Director, Tom Fisher, and his team, and the Arkansas Counter Drug Joint Task Force with the National Guard. So it's called Called to Duty, and we're loving it. It's got 5 different platform layers, but really the goal of this is to combat the opioid and drug crisis, with the emphasis on supporting our veterans and military and their families in mental health and addiction. So this is a wonderful platform, and we really are leaning in on our peer network in this. So we have 2 and soon to be several more veteran peers that have the lived experience in addiction and mental health, and they're out in communities, and they are available for any veterans to reach out to help navigate, that will help them navigate either whether it's the VA or other treatment and recovery programs, and mental health programs as well. And so yes, it's an exciting platform, and we're doing big works out in the community as far as Operation Saturation and educating on the latest drug trends and that drug nexus, and then also naloxone training and what happens, in the case of an overdose, what resources are out there. So we have a laundry list of resources for substance use on the Call to Duty platform, in treatment centers. And yes, like I said, our peers are available 24/7, and really work closely as well with WAT 22 and that suicide, like the crisis intervention. And then we are more on that, just the recovery side of it and navigation of resources.
I also had the privilege of being in front of a presentation words from Michael and Justin, in which they walk through the state of Arkansas and our drug crisis, but then being approved to get a kit. So for anyone who knows veterans who may be affected by these substances, to get a kit, it can save a life. And I am really grateful to have been able to sit and be a part of that. So thank you, Jody.
Love that. No, and I'm going to say one more shout out there. If there's anybody on the call that would like us to come in and do a training, Scott, I think you said it best, really, as far as leaning in and meeting them where they are. So we meet our veterans, our corporate veteran inclusion groups, our military, they're all being trained up each unit. And so this is just a big resource and a platform for the state as we're getting into all 75 counties.
Yeah, just another shout out, Jody. The Call to Duty is awesome. I serve with Justin and Michael on WAT 22. I'm on the board. We are the 22 as a veteran suicide response across the state of Arkansas. And we're very fortunate to have that here in Arkansas. It's a great organization. I encourage people to check that organization out as well. But Michael and Justin are rock stars. My wife and I have gone through the Narcan. We took our 14-year-old son to, it's a problem. And I get on my soapbox all the time. Veterans, they know what it's like to be in kind of that community and how to serve. Obviously, they served our country. I think them being smart in this, it's like back in the day, a lot of veterans, I think almost all veterans were CPR certified, right? So this is just the next movement in that direction, right? Everybody needs to, I think a lot of veterans are willing to save somebody's life. So why not take advantage of that?
Well, and what's great about this platform too, the veterans that they connect with that maybe have fallen in that mental health space or addiction, it's really getting them back into their service. So giving them that power and purpose again. And it doesn't even necessarily, we have navigators in the program that help navigate all those, just the workforce and reentry side of it as well. So anyway, great platform. I'd encourage everybody to check it out. And if you want us to meet you where you are, then let us know.
I got a caveat, Jody. You may already have it on your site. Lifeline service dogs, they're actually here in Arkansas. So with Mental Health Awareness Month, I'm going to share the link. If you know any veterans or look at their site, see if you're eligible. They provide service animals for free to veterans, spouses, children.
That's
So,
huge. That is huge.
Absolutely.
Organization.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that, Walter.
welcome.
Let's also go back to you, Walter.
Oh.
If you are our next question. So we've talked a lot about the HASH and SSD resources. Any local services offer support to homeless veterans? Another question to that is any interview and resume support that you could offer to our veterans here on the call, or anyone that has any in their family?
Yeah, so I assist veterans, eligible veterans, spouses, to include caregivers. I'm not going to go through the huge list, but Department of Labor has made a more extensive list. So there's really not anybody I can't assist. And then I'm going to go up to your other questions. Salvation Army here in Hot Springs. It really just depends on the funding in the local area. So if the community is together and they're supporting local resources, then you're going to have great resources to fall on. If not, then, unfortunately, that veteran really needs to move to get the assistance they need. But Hot Springs, Little Rock, Pine Bluff, Fort Smith, Fayetteville, West Memphis, El Dorado, Texarkana, really the biggest towns with great support systems. But the Salvation Army here in Hot Springs, they've done great job assisting veterans financially and with food. The Elks Lodge has helped a lot. They've helped me reaching out to veterans, and we do have to vet them. So they'll ask, do I have a DD-214 form? I may not, but I can get it. I can research it through National Archives. I can, if I can't get it there, I can use a VA system called Squares and see their service dates, their discharge, all that good stuff. And literally just a phone call and bam, utility is paid, back rent's paid. Maybe
Awesome.
car assistance. I think it was last week, a veteran I've been working with, his dog was sick, had some back problems. So one of the local resources paid for the vet to take care of it.
Awesome.
Thank you. Love that.
Hey, I also know on Camp Alliance Camp Connect's page, there's like a 3-click, you can get right to the space that tells you how to get to DD-214s as well. So just a shout out there, keep an eye on, that page is full of resources for everyone on this call, someone who's assisting a veteran, a family member that's working with them. There's a ton of resources on that page as well. Thank you, Walter. I would like to kind of go over to Carlton and talk to Carlton a little bit about his story. One of the things in our discussions in our preliminary works, we heard a little bit about his story using his GI Bill. So Carlton, would you mind telling us a little bit about some things you learned and how you learned it maybe the hard way, but the available resources that are out there for you?
Yeah, I'll say I learned the hard way. But I want to, before I get started, I want to thank you. I want to collaborate with these guys because basically a lot of stuff that I search when a vet calls me about going to a program, seeing if the program's approved and they're needing extra assistance, guys, I would appreciate if you send me all the information that you have.
You bet.
But
I'll be
yeah,
glad
back to
to.
me. Oh, I thank you. I appreciate it. Like I said, I got out of the military. I exited the military roughly 2016. I was one of those guys, young. So I wasn't young, but I was ready to get out of the military. Of course, we have. I think somebody mentioned they served on TAP briefings and stuff like that. So they do resume writing, everything. Of course, I was one of those soldiers that hey, I just want out. Let me check the box and let me get ghost. So after that, went to work, worked as a police officer, went to the academy, uh, worked as a police officer for a couple of years, trying to make ends meet. But if I would have known that the GI Bill would cover my cost of living during that period, I'd probably still be in law enforcement. But it didn't happen. But better things happened. Met my boss. He offered me a job working for the state improvement agency based off my background, especially dealing with recruiting and retention and other things. When I got to this job, one of my coworkers said, "Hey, you're a vet. Have you used up your benefit yet?" I was like, "No, I transferred some to my kids. Still have, a little bit left." They said, "Well, you can use it for on-the-job training and apprenticeship." Didn't know that. But like I said, if I had I'd probably still be in my old career field. A lot of them don't know this, and some are like me. They get in the military, they want to go on, and they miss out on the information, the small information that could help them down the road leading up to this. Because back in the day, I'd never heard of any of the training that you guys and assistance that you guys have put out there. So I just appreciate you guys for letting me listen in and being on this today. Thank you.
Definitely thank you, Carlton, because sharing your story will help somebody. And you were meant to be here, and you're meant to be part of this panel, and you're meant to be a part of a story that will change somebody's life. And so I want to thank you for your time and sharing your story, because I think it's important. I know, as a military, I call myself an Air Force brat. We didn't know about the resources that are available, and we wouldn't know about them. And continuing the story, we wouldn't know about them if we didn't have panelists like the four of you. So I really want to thank you for your time today to sharing those things with us. But before we leave, I kind of, we started in this world helping through with apprenticeships in the IT space. And Scott has really been influential in helping us along the way. And so I really kind of want to touch base on, Scott, you had talked previously, there's kind of like three different buckets with Forge, and the ability for somebody, a veteran or somebody that's just interested to change their careers, learning some opportunity in the cybersecurity field. Can you tell us a little bit more about that program and how somebody would get started?
Yeah, so I think you're referring to our academy. So Forge Institute has numerous different courses that we offer. The first one we ever did was similar to the course that my squadron, when I was in the military, developed, which was cyber. We called it the Cyber Training Boot Camp. The first time we launched that, I would say over 2/3 were apprentices. Before Apprenticely, they were Arkansas Center for Data Sciences, and we actually shared an office with them. And so back in 2019, 2020, we had our cyber training boot camp, which takes IT people and turns them into cyber apprentices, and giving them that operational mindset. We also have a boot camp that takes people with little to no tech background at all and turns them into an entry-level IT person. So this training is very much meets the requirements for the Department of Labor registered apprenticeship program. And so it's a certificate that's industry recognized, and businesses that Apprenticely works with has sent folks through that training and met the training requirements. So I'm going to get on my soapbox real quick about cyber. So cybersecurity is a challenge that everyone faces. This day and age, every company is a cyber company because they're using technology to do something. Whether it's a point of sale system, whether it's managing their customers, whether it's how they're reaching the market through social media, and like there's always security aspects to that. And some of the more regulated organizations are more mature. Obviously, you think about power, you think about financial institutes, they still have struggles with cyber. And when I say cyber, it's very broad. So you think about fraud, you think about identity theft, you think about all that's done with technology this day and age. So what we've done with our boot camp, and we've done this in partnership with Apprenticely, is that organizations that don't really have a cybersecurity person, they've hired someone as an IT generalist through an internship thing or through that 3-month on-the-job training that's a pre-apprentice type employment. And then that frees up their IT professional to be upskilled into a cybersecurity role, right? So in the military, you didn't do cybersecurity until you did IT for at least a few years. So it's kind of career progression, which is exactly what an apprenticeship is. So even though you might be a fully qualified IT person, you might start off back at ground zero as an apprentice in cybersecurity, or at least take on more responsibilities as a cybersecurity person. And that organization, like a financial institution, they need to focus on that. So I hope that made sense, but it needs to be done. And cybersecurity is not just a challenge, it's a national security issue. So just something to think about. I'm sure everybody's seen the news, seen the movies. There are some not fans of ours as US citizens that want to do bad things. And it used to be very much, hey, yeah, the big four, the axis of evil, whatever you want to call it, they were going after our infrastructure. It's not that way anymore. They're hiring contractors, they're hiring criminal organizations to target Americans, and we need to do better.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that. I know extensively, we've had some conversations which, made me aware of what I needed to remove from my phone. And I appreciate that because, sometimes we don't think or look into the details of those. So I love the fact that you shared that for awareness of all, and really appreciate that. All right.
Well, before we get into questions, I want to ask one more question for everyone, starting with Jody, then going to Walter, and then Carlton, and then Scott. We talked about all these sources from, Camp Alive, Camp Connect, mental and substance abuse resources. Carlton had his GI Bill information and how to use that with training and apprenticeships. Walter with homeless vets, and Scott, you with cybersecurity and your time as a service. But the final question being, how can we best uplift our veterans so that sympathy and empathy from us civilians served? And, I have some family members who are currently serving and their struggles. How can we best uplift our veterans and just love on them properly? So starting with you, Jody, what are some nuggets or pieces of advice you would give us civilians? You're muted.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Own personal experience. Just again, I can't emphasize enough that just leaning in and meeting them where they are from a spouse perspective, and just be there, just be considerate, just be good human beings to one another, because you have no idea who you're going to run into or start a conversation with. We don't always identify as a veteran, a service spouse. And so we just never know. And so I think just being very aware of your surroundings and your people, and be able to be able and willing to navigate resources with them, and not just pass the buck and act like we are not taking them seriously.
Thank you, Jody. Now, Walter, what are
Yes.
some best ways we can
I mean, just to follow up with Jody, I mean, we don't know what we don't know. So we don't know where that person is. So just ask, hey, what's going on? What's happening? Do you need anything? You know, and you know, some are going to be humble and not share anything. So just keep asking, you know, every time you see them, or just reach out to them and say, hey, what's, you know, haven't heard from you. What's going on? You know, you okay? You know, the golden rule, you know, just ask.
Thank you. Carlton, any words of advice?
Oh man. Basically, I think like everyone else said, just be approachable. Don't throw the buck. If it's something that you can help them with, that's from personal experience, help them. Like I run across vets all the time. Oh, I'm not getting paid, or I'm trying to get in this program, but they say they're not approved. Can you help them? Can you talk them into it? Because getting approved to, take money for the GI Bill, it's not mandatory in some cases. Sometimes it takes a little wing over to a person's job to get them to work with the vet. So yeah, I like the term Jody uses, meet them where they're at, because basically you don't know their situation at the time. So I try to do everything I can, reach out any resource, any VA contact that I have, examiner, or, education liaison, even a director if I can. So that's about it.
And Scott, how can we best uplift our veterans?
I would say that I've had probably the longest time to think about it out of the last, but I think that Jody and everybody's right, meeting them where they're at, but also giving them a sense of purpose. They joined the military for a reason, and I think that leverage the resources that are with these panelists right here, or the organizations that they're representing. But at the same time, I would say figure out ways, and this is the challenge to the veterans, not just the people that want to serve them or help them. It's the veterans need to get involved. They need to get plugged in. They need to figure out what makes them happy. And it's okay that you're not the same as before before you join the military, right? The people that struggle with those things, they're not ever going to be the same. And that's okay. So figure out who you're going to be, and then leverage the resources that these people represent here. But there are tons of other ones out there. Mm-hmm. One of my pastors back in the day, I went to a big church, and they had these small groups, and this is how a big church is small and close knit. And he said, if you get into a group and you don't like that group, or you don't like a person that's in that group, he was from Louisiana, he said, just crawfish out and go find another group. And veterans can do the same thing. There's so many great organizations out there. If you get involved in one and it doesn't feel right, then crawfish out and find another one.
Yeah, I love that.
I do too.
I'm stealing that, Scott.
Steal it.
Crawfish out.
Yeah, I love it. I feel like definitely would have heard that out of my daddy's mouth. I love it. So we do want to open it up to our candidates that are watching, to see if there's any open questions of our panelists, to see if there's anything that we can help support with. So I am going to And in this, just so you know, we will be sharing this with all the resources, and I've added the additional resources to the note section of this page. But do we have any questions for our panelists?
I'm going to put a couple of people on the spot, Jenny. There's some subject matter experts. Michelle Simon and oh, she left.
Oh, she's still there.
No,
Thanks,
there was.
Walter.
You're welcome. You do it to me all the time. So, and I saw Military One Source, but it looks like she got off. Okay.
So I am Michelle. I'm
Go
sorry.
for it.
I
Go
am
for it.
Michelle Simon, and I am one of the case managers with the SSVF program. And we assist veterans who are experiencing homelessness or at risk of becoming homeless due to eviction, or they're couch surfing, staying with family members, and it's just not permanent housing stability. And so that's our goal, is to transition the veteran and their family into permanent housing. We assist financially with security deposits, utility deposits. We have food assistance available. We have moving assistance available if they have their items in storage and, you know, no transportation to move the items into their new home. Like, we can hire a moving company to do that. We have a healthcare navigator who can help them with maybe applying for disability benefits or getting them connected to the VA medical center or a CBOC in their area. Or if they're not eligible for VA healthcare, then our healthcare navigator will get them set up with community resources. We just really, the whole gambit of whatever the veteran needs to get into permanent housing and stay there.
Awesome.
We do have some income requirements. We go by the area median income for the county that the veteran is in. So they have to be within 80% of that AMI to qualify for the program. And depending on whether or not they're above or below 30% of the AMI, depends on how many months of assistance is available to them. The maximum number of months is 9. That being said, we also work with the HUD-VASH program, and we make those referrals, and we work closely with the VA to get families that don't have enough income to maintain housing stability, to get those housing vouchers for them, and work with the VA social workers to maintain their housing stability. If for some reason they don't qualify for the VASH program, we have our own long-term program called Shallow Subsidy, which is a 2-year program where we rent share 50%. The veteran would pay 50% and we would pay the other 50%, in hopes that we can work with them to increase their income through either employment or disability or something like that. As case managers, we do work closely with the DBOPs and other organizations to find stable employment for the veterans and their families. One of the great things about our program is that the veteran chooses who is in their family. So if their family is themselves, their brother, their mom, and kids, then great. If it's them and their partner, great. Like, whoever the veteran says is their family, that's who we assist.
Awesome. Awesome. Walter, did you put the link in the chat already for these services that Michelle offers? If not, Michelle, do you mind putting that link
I
I'll
think,
for a
definitely,
veteran.
yeah, I'll definitely put the link in there. And I'm sorry, I should have mentioned, we cover the entire state of Arkansas. So
Awesome.
it doesn't matter where they're at. And if we have a veteran, and I'm working with one right now, as a matter of fact, who is not from Arkansas, but they ended up here for whatever reason, we have a returning home program where we can assist the veteran to get back to their community of origin, where they have more family support and things like that. And in the returning program home, or in the returning home program, we cover their expenses getting to where, like, my veteran is going to Florida, so we'll cover her hotel stay while she travels, her food, her fuel, her moving services to get her belongings to Florida. I'm working on getting her connected with the VA down there so she can start, getting her medical care taken, set up, and
Awesome.
getting her connected with Department of Children and Family Services down there for SNAP benefits and things like that. So that's also another great thing that we have for veterans who may not be from Arkansas and don't want to stay here because they have no support.
That's amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please, yes, do put your information in the how a veteran, so I can add it to this presentation. And that's just something I want to share, as we will share this presentation with these links as well. We did have one question I want to ask. Does anyone have a favorite website that's approved education programs covered by the GI Bill that they're aware of?
I have two, and it's very searchable. Wings Public and the VA comparison tool.
Okay. Awesome. Anyone else? Well, I've included our panelists' information here. They are subject matter experts. Again, I want to thank you guys for taking time today and sharing all of these resources. I know there's a ton more. We've just kind of really touched the topic, but we really want to be able to support veterans and their families across the board. And these are some great resources. So please do use these resources. Does anybody have any final thoughts before we take off for the rest of, well, not take off for the rest of the day. We still have the rest of the afternoon to work, but
We gotta work.
I know, right?
I have one more quick thing, Jenny. I sit on the NIST Apprenticeship Subcommittee, and across the country, and this is very specific to cyber and IT jobs. So veterans, spouses, dependents, really anybody that wants to get into those career fields, the average cost of training is zero.
Wow.
Because there's so many opportunities out there for different things, right? It really depends on what they want to do. But it's really about the employment and the industry willing to, hire somebody. But there are tons of great resources out there. I'm happy to share some of those, and those are on the NIST framework, which a lot of that training now is free. If you go to Homeland Security's Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency's website, CISA, they own free on-demand training that prepares people for certificates, and all that's just ready to go.
Awesome.
So food for thought.
I love
That's
I need
phenomenal.
we need to put that on Camp Connect, Scott. That's a great resource. And there's a couple other I heard today. So that's my last thought is, I always say this, we're a resource-rich, communication poor. So thank you so much, Apprentice Lee, for putting this together. And I hope it's viewed multiple times throughout a bunch of platforms, because that's really, if we can continue to build out a resource database from a federal, state, and local level, we're only winning. And so anyway, if anybody has any resources like that that we can put on Camp Connect, we just want to continue to build that out very robust.
Thank you.
And I just want to add, I mean, there's so many resources. You can't think of all of them all the time. We could talk all day, 12 hours about numerous resources, but I almost forgot military. There's a military program that Hilton does, and I'm actually going to be working with Michelle with her client that she was just talking about. Arkansas, I don't think Arkansas participates, but Florida does. So if you have an interview, transitioning service member, not a PCS move or anything like that, Hilton, you may be eligible for a few nights at a Hilton owned hotel somewhere.
Awesome.
So-
Awesome.
It's Hilton awards 100,000 points.
Yeah.
So however many nights that gets you, that 100,000 points is what you're eligible for. And you have to have a referral from someone at the workforce services stating that you have these job interviews. Like Walter is going to be writing my referral for my client, who she's providing her the information for her job interviews that she has lined up, so Walter can write the referral for Hilton.
Awesome. 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 Great resources out there. Absolutely. Well, this brings us to the end, which is so sad, but I really want to thank you guys for all your support. We will be sharing this. We will email it to the registrants that have signed up. We will also be sharing it on our YouTube page. We will also share it on our social media page. So if you missed something, go back, feel free to reach out. Elise and I are always here to support and share this information, but we have some great resources here for us to use, and we want to support. So please reach out. Thank you guys again for your time. This has been such an amazing webinar, and I can only just say that our veterans and our panelists are amazing. Thank you guys so much.